everyone. Michael J. Nelson and Connor Listoka here. This is 372 pages we'll never get back. This is episode 2 as we work our way through the exciting new... He's really the founder of our feast, Ernest Cline.
He is.
He's got a new book.
We owe it all to him.
Yes.
It is Bridge to Bat City. He is our Rosetta Stone. It's where it all emanates from. And this is his first book for children. Not the book where they sat around and called each other insults based off Star Wars characters was not for children.
No.
Just to clear that up. And the book where they the fate of the world depending on them reciting a dialogue to a Monty Python movie verbatim was not for children.
That was for serious adults and obviously critics who roundly loved it. Could not shower it with enough praise and book awards. And then note at the end of all their reviews, not for children. Please,
yes,
please.
Take this seriously. The next thing on their thing is like, one of those like Murakami novels or something like that. Just, or, The Underground Railroad by Colson Whitehead on the top 10 list, along with Ernest Cline's Armada, Ready Player 2. All for adults. Yes.
Yes. So, do you want to run through the plot up to this point? We just previewed.
Yes, we previewed it. So we only read 3 chapters of this thing. We spent a lot of time on it, but we're going to do a full real or fanfic this time, obviously, because people have had a lot of time to catch up to this. But a lot of people have written in a lot of dumb sentences, a lot of emails. People embrace this garbage just as much as we do. So very exciting to have a full delve into this thing. But
this garbage, so you're already okay.
Well, I mean,
books we don't expect to like. We usually reserve. I just like the flat out calling it garbage.
I think obviously this is a book intended for 10 to 12-year-olds, maybe 13 if you go by our protagonist's age. But I think as we touched on last time, I feel like even for them, it's a little insulting, infantilizing. And maybe that's where children's literature is at these days. I don't know. But in terms of the classics, the classic 80s novels I grew up on, like Roald Dahl, even Beverly Cleary, I don't think they were, they made some assumptions about the reader's intelligence and competence and what they wanted out of a book. And this guy is sort of just... This is one of those guys that brings their kids to the mall on a leash, like their 6-year-old who's too old for it type of thing. I think that's sort of what he's doing to his readers here.
You don't like the phrase "big beautiful cave" repeated 4 billion times?
I've got a good over/under coming up to hit it when it comes,
right.
And it's one of our pet peeves here. But so you asked about the plot. The plot is that we have a 13-year-old girl, Opal B. Flats. She her mother has died. And she has been taken to live with her uncle Roscoe, who came to get her out of the panhandle of Texas and is taken to another part, the hill country of Texas. And Opal B. Flats is a music fan. She is what do they call it? She is a extrasensory. She really loves music. Monomaniac.
Yes.
She's a monomaniac on the floor, classic 80s. And she also is obsessed with Buddy Holly, and she's a bit of an outcast among her fellow kids because she dresses kind of weird. She's round. She wears big, dorky glasses like Buddy Holly.
She's a little bit different. And this is taking place in the classic 80s, something I didn't catch on to. I just didn't. They don't explicitly state it, but we learned through the timeline that this is classic 80s. And just to remind you, because it will come up, I believe Uncle Roscoe, in our retelling of it, we kind of had Uncle Roscoe was like this, right? He's he's played by Sam Elliott, as most of our characters are, who are uncles or
sure, yes.
But that's important too. That'll come up a little bit later. Almost right away. But
he defied expectations, which in a book like this, that I would just like to say at the end of the last episode, we exactly predicted what was going to happen here. But if you can defy expectations in a Cline book, you got to tip your hat, I think.
To Uncle Roscoe.
Yeah, well, sure, yeah.
I just want to start off with, so they're headed back to Uncle Roscoe's place, which I forget where he lives.
It is a town with an interesting name, but yeah, it's in the hill country, I think they said.
But Uncle Roscoe drove a rusted red 1963 AMC Rambler Classic 80s station wagon that he called the Red Rambler. Whenever he drove somewhere in it, he never referred to it as driving, he called it ramblin'. Now, I just want to recount very quickly my uncle who bequeathed me a home filled with frozen buckets of his own human waste.
Deep
You'll
lore,
recall
yes.
this. That is, he collected AMC cars, which is the worst car you could possibly collect, of course.
Did they make the Gremlin?
Yes.
Okay.
I believe they depreciate in value very rapidly. I don't know why he collected them. But anyway, one time, I think it was my new wife, Bridget. I'm like, here's my Uncle Wally. And Wally is like, he talks to her. Oh, it's so nice to meet you. He kind of had this high voice. He was very excitable. He had a comb over that he pasted over with lots of Vitalis or whatever they used. And he said, I got to go because I have to finish my newsletter for the KKK. And Bridget's like, what? And then he goes, K. All right. Explain that. It's the Kane County Car Club.
Okay.
But they spelled them all with K's. I looked it up. It sort of exists as like a little group, but they no longer spell it with K's. But that was the first thing one of the first things he said to my new wife was like, well, I gotta go do a newsletter
for the KKK mosquito. K. Wow. Okay.
So then he showed us examples of the newsletter after that. We're like, okay, all right, maybe you should reconsider.
And so this was this doesn't sound like a guy who had a deep mastery of print shop on his Apple II. What was he handwriting this newsletter?
I believe that he had a rusty old Remington or whatever typewriter.
Oh, nice, right? Yeah,
of course.
Type. Yeah, there's a step between handwriting and computing.
Yes. Click, 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 click. K. K.
Damn K's stuck.
Well, anyway, so AMC cars. That's my connection. Uncles and AMC cars.
I just like that the Red Rambler. He gives the nickname of the Red Rambler. So is that a step up of creativity from our author, or is that just par for the course here?
It's kind of like her calling it what was it? Level
Land.
Level Land,
which
was called Level.
a town right over there named that. So.
But he sounds like a real jerk, Roscoe does. Do you need me to ramble you somewhere, he'd ask? And if you say yes, he'd say, okay, then let's get rambling. Or, are you ready to ramble? Uncle Roscoe, stop this.
Please, sir.
I strongly dislike it when you say
Uber's on the way, yeah. So that's just a trait here. Characters just substitute perfectly serviceable words out for annoying words that would drive you mad the second time that they said it.
But then, okay, my first guy, maybe I should take a big sip of coffee now as I read this too. Uncle Roscoe was only 10 years older than Opal. So he was just 23.
Yeah. Distressing.
Was that a shock to you? Wait, whose brother is he?
He is her deceased father's brother.
Okay, the one who
fought in Nam.
Nam.
He was killed in Nam, yep, and then...
he was killed in Nam, like, on vacation, right?
Yeah. He was at a girly bar in Nam, or hostess bar. But... yeah, I don't know if there's like a second marriage involved here because I guess that would put him, who knows, at the same level. But yes, it took you out of the Sam Elliott mindset, as does when you learn about his hobbies later on. He's just sort of a 23-year-old geek.
Yeah, and he seems too young to be saying, do you need me to ramble you somewhere?
Yes.
Like, you skipped college and you learned the term ramble instead of...
So he rambles her back to where he lives, where another Cline thing. She plays back-to-back multiple back-to-back repeated listens of Buddy Holly's greatest hits tape. And they stop at Whataburger, which is a Texas classic, on the way, where they have a discussion about sort of it's a trope of he inherited the farm, but farming's never been for him. But like once his parents died, he like knew that they wouldn't want him to sell it, so he put his college plans on hold and stayed by to manage the farm. Which
right.
it hits it again, but it's not what he wants to be doing. But now he has this, he's a adopted parent in charge, so he doesn't really have much of a choice.
Right, and when they're at Whataburger, this again is like put me back in Sam Elliott mode. The question seemed to catch him off guard. He took off his hat and scratched his scalp with his fingernails a few times before putting it back. Oh, I'm sorry. Oh, gosh, let me think about that. Do you want to play some video games? Or
yeah,
he's 23.
The double douche. Sorry, voice crack there. The double douche.
And then this is another thing that I deeply dislike about. I'm not a fan of this Roscoe character. The more I hear about him, the less I like him. Cat Stevens, he plays. If you want to sing out by Cat Stevens. And this reminded me of I had a friend who was a bartender, and we were in plays together, and he had a girlfriend who he lived with, and she hated me. It was like, hello, Newman. It was like that kind of, it's like, why do but she had a Cat Stevens CD that she just, I swear it was glued into her CD player. Like He'd open up, he'd come back to the apartment, and she was like, going around doing whatever a girlfriend does in the apartment, and Cat Stevens would be blasting, and I'd come in and be like, still with the Cat Stevens?
Multiple back-to-back listens.
Oh, hi, Lucian. Whoops, I said his name. I'll bleep that out. And then she'd look at me, oh, hi. And the Cat Stevens is like, you can't hate me. You're playing Cat Stevens.
It did strike me as someone that you would dislike, but I thought just based on its auditory merits, not a deep personal experience and loathing from decades ago.
Yeah, there's a real story behind it. Anyway.
But so she was listening to it, and as Ernest Cline describes here, if you want to sing out, is one of those songs that makes you feel happy and sad at the same time. So maybe it was the sad part of it was what was in her head when you came there.
Yeah, that could be.
That sentence goes on, by the way. It made you feel happy and sad at the same time. So it was the perfect song for Opal to hear in that moment because it captured just how she was feeling. Happy and sad at the same time. So that's one of the, come along on the leash, little Tommy. Like, we've got to get you new shoes.
And then, here's a sonic challenge for you.
Ooh.
Opal usually loved it when he changed his voice like that because it made him sound just like Grandpa Philo. Okay, so then he lowered his voice and exaggerated his Texas accent before adding, and then I'll just read it flat, and you have to read it as Roscoe doing Grandpa Philo, exaggerating his Texas accent. And I'll fight any man or woman who says otherwise.
Okay.
Okay, so your 23-year-old farmer who couldn't go to college, and you're imitating Grandpa Philo.
Yeah. Well, there's nothing wrong with the way you look either. You're as cute as a button and always have been. And I'll fight any man or woman who says otherwise. I'm sorry about that. I'll fight any man or woman who says otherwise, Opal.
Very good.
Thank you.
It. Mm-hmm.
That was just slightly after I thought you might have isolated this. I thought it might have inspired a trip somewhere. But, he tells her that she's going to enroll in school down there. She had forgotten about school. And she says, no, you're going to be in school. They agreed to release you. And she says, oh, phew, thanks, Uncle Roscoe. You got it, pal. He rambled on down the highway in silence for a few minutes before something else occurred to him. That didn't inspire a trip? No, that's to the dark web.
I mean, I think we've sworn off that, haven't we? I'm always tempted, of course.
Doing it live, I think, was the nail in that bit's coffin.
Yes. Did we ever actually fulfill a couple minutes.
Oh, he did 2 minutes, I believe, on stage at when we read the novelization of Kazam.
Yes, we did a full 2 minutes. Okay,
Good. So they go on. He reassures her that she's weird, but I'm weird too, and the weird people always tell the best stories. And so to me that probably is true because our author has proven himself to have incredibly basic mainstream taste and. Has he told a good story in the 4 efforts he's made? I'm not sure about that, but it's a lesson. Maybe you could take take some lessons from your own characters here, I guess.
He did. I guess it was a crotchety old man voice he was doing. I forgot that. I'm right is what I am, he replied in the same crotchety old man voice, slamming his fist down on the dashboard in mock anger. Don't you contradict me now, girl. I won't have that. And, being 23, she's like, wow, that's amazing how you can turn into a crotchety old man like that.
She does have some wisdom beyond her years, you would think, like something that's more, I don't know, along with what a 50-year-old man worldview might have. So,
yes.
And they ramble down the road. Willie Nelson is playing on the road again, and they make their way back to the hill country to start chapter 5.
Called Flats in the Hill Country. And as you recall, isn't there family lore the Flats married the Sharps?
Yes.
And then
yes.
they all... Okay.
If you're tuning in, not having listened to the last episode, we apologized for that on behalf of the author. Last time, we will apologize on behalf of it this time as well.
So they ramble on down to his place, where there's the signs that he puts up. Oh, he's got all these bills due to him.
Bill past due, final notice, some guys are coming type of things. For their farm, which has been in their family since 1865.
And then the enemy is named, and the enemy is... How are you pronouncing this? I find it irritating when someone, in a book like for young people where you make them do all the work for them.
Sure. I mean, Muckerno?
Muckerno?
Muckerno? Yeah.
Muckerno?
Muckerno limestone. I would say I was Muckerno. I have no idea. It you said Dynatox Industries from Karate Kid 3 was going to be involved here. And it's pretty much, it's not as blatant, but like muck is not a good, that's the guys that show up to hassle the Goonies or something.
Is it a mixed up letters and I'm just not, is it an allusion to something, an anagram or something?
I didn't even think to look. I just thought it was it does not appear to be a thing from an 80s movie or something. So
it's just annoying. But then we get the first the bats finally.
Let me just tell you what he says, because Muckerno Limestone is trying to buy his land.
Yes,
and he's putting up signs saying no, do it. And he's like, they've been trying to buy this land for ages, so they can blast a bunch of giant holes in the ground to dig up limestone and poison the rivers and kill off all the wildlife. And I just imagined that being like their corporate ad, the sort of slow motion, and like, here at Muckerno Limestone, our mission statement is trifold. We want to dig giant holes in the ground, poison rivers, and kill off all the wildlife, because we are an evil corporation and we only hire evil people.
Yep, that's what their shareholders are like. Look, you brought in a lot of money with the limestone thing, but are you committed to poisoning the rivers and killing off all the wildlife? That's what we, the shareholders of Muckerno Limestone, are most interested in.
Yeah, hi, Phil Robertson, shareholder since 1979. I noticed a bunch of spotted owl are still flying around. I thought you had agreed that you were going to work to take those out. That's
yeah, we took out those the snail darter, and we thought we had killed the owls. We will certainly get down to it. It's your feedback is incredibly valuable.
I move for a vote of no confidence in our CEO. Seconded.
We've killed as many owls as we can.
Boo! So yeah, there's more about them and their employees later, but that's a good whets the appetite. But yeah, the bats are flying for the first time.
Yes, so they spot the bats. And this is what Uncle Roscoe... I'm going to have to settle on a voice. I can't get over the fact that he's not a 70-year-old guy with a giant mustache. Yes, Opal, he replied. They're bats. But don't worry. Those furry little flying creatures are as friendly as can be. And they're also completely harmless. Now, I don't know. I have a bat story. I'll put it as an extra sometime because it's
Okay.
it's an incredible story, but we don't have time for it now.
We did verify that you have not told this story. We went straight
Okay.
to the source and asked people.
It's absolutely incredible. Every time I tell people, they're like, "What?" It gets that kind of reaction. Like, are you serious? Like, yes. Anyway, so that's a little teaser for that. I'll do it as an extra. So I looked it up. Are they harmless? And this is what I got.
I looked it up too.
Bats can carry diseases such as rabies, histoplasmosis, and Australian bat lyssavirus, ABLV. These diseases can be transmitted to humans through contact with bat saliva, urine, or feces. So, harmless? I'll let the internet answer for me.
Here's what I found too. This is from CDC.gov. Bats are one of the most commonly reported rabid animals in the United States, and bats are the leading cause of rabies death in people in the United States. Okay. So dogs are out there being like, we got to get our press agent on here. Rabid dogs? I mean, most dogs get rabies shots and stuff, but I looked it up because both me and Lauren had separate incidents in our childhood where we came back from a vacation or anything, and a bat was in the house, probably having come down the chimney.
Sure.
And when Lauren's mom tells the story, she's like, a guy came out because we had cats, and we didn't know if the cat was biting it around, and it bit him, and now the cat has rabies. So I was like, I think the bats have rabies. Yeah, they kill more people with rabies than any other animal. So,
Wow.
Unless you're in Hawaii, then you're free of bat rabies. But as we know, we are not. So we'll just keep that in mind going forward as the bats become an increasingly close part of the story.
Friends of the bat. We had a bat loose in my high school, and a teacher went, "You boys, go get that bat." This is how old I am, where the teacher just ordered us to go get the bat, and we're like, "Can we use a tennis racket?" She's like, "Well, I guess." So we just opened up someone's locker and took their tennis racket, and the bat flew down the hall, and then someone just whacked it up against the wall and threw it out the window. The teacher's like, "Thank you, boys."
Thank you. Well, at some point in time later today, the guy who threw it out the window, wash your hands at some point.
Yeah,
you don't have to do it now. But
yeah, finish your assignment, and then you can wash your hands. But then, so Opal sees, he's talking about the bats, and they're friendly critters. They're friends of ours. Mm-hmm. Opal didn't hear a word after he said bats. She was terrified of bats. The only time she'd ever seen a bat before was in some scary movie or in a spooky cartoon like Scooby-Doo. Now, is that considered a spooky cartoon? Oh God, that dog is talking. I'm terrified.
Yeah, if you don't have object permanence or are not familiar with Saturday morning cartoons, it might be might spook you. I guess.
I guess
every single time when there's a ghoul at the carnival, and you're like, this is deeply distressing.
Let's get out of here, Scooby. Wow, spooky.
I feel like that's when when you go see like a jam band, Fish or something, and people in the audience will they'll tease, dancing around the room, and they'll be like, they haven't teased that one since like 3 years ago in Cabo. Oh my God! So that's just Cline giving you a little like playing a riff from something like to whet your appetite for later.
Yes, get to taking care of business.
It's the 80s. Talk about Scooby-Doo.
Yes.
And so, yeah, she's worried about the bats. Uncle Roscoe, she asked the following question: are any of them vampire bats? Do they bite on you on the neck and suck out your blood? And he says, no, they're furry little Mexican free-tailed bats, which would have been the most hilarious time for one to latch onto his neck and start sucking his blood. It unfortunately doesn't happen. But we can have our fingers crossed that maybe they've underestimated these bats' blood-sucking ability.
There are friends and our neighbors, too. They live in a big, old, beautiful cave just over that hill yonder at the edge of the forest.
Nice.
Friends.
Over the hill yonder!
Neighbors. So having coffee, sharing stories, talking like heart to heart.
You leave them a key under the mat when you go out of town so
Yes.
you can,
You give them the code
plants.
to your garage door and stuff like that. Yeah, of course.
If you're not a fan of the infantilization and anthropomorphization of these bats, this is going to be a tough read for you, as it has been already. But
yes,
it's it's for children. But again, like James and the Giant Peach, you have a a centipede and all sorts of other bugs on there, but it's never just like James knew the bugs were his friends. They just sort of come out and talk to him, and you make a friend. It doesn't have to be like they're not a squishmallow bat that all of a sudden you're just like, oh.
This made me wonder about, I'm already suspicious of Roscoe, as you know. What's this 23-year-old kid? What's he up to? Mm-hmm. What's he rambling on about? When the bats flew south each winter, Uncle Roscoe missed them something terrible. He told Opal that the farm just felt a lonelier place without his furry little friends flying around. Roscoe, you okay, man? You're investing way too. You miss the bats terribly. Like moping around, he can't eat his cereal in the morning. Oh, sorry, that's coming up.
Is there pictures of Uncle Roscoe at the Austin Anthrocon? And he's got his bat ears on, and he's yiffing some other flying mammals. I don't know.
By the way, I told some friends who didn't know about yiffing, and both of them said, like, why did you have to tell me that? There are certain things you can just keep to yourself. Like, that's fair. I'm sorry about that.
I feel like most people are probably, aware of furries at this point in time. They're aware of that as a phenomenon, but to drop a slang term from the community like that is just you can blame it on me if you ever need to.
Yes, and we're not advising you to go diving to the search engine right now. We're advising you against it.
But yeah, he announces that every time he sees them, he sort of doffs his cap at them and gives them a wave, which is just an invitation, I think, for was it histoplasmosis if the iguana was raining down upon his bare head there.
Yeah, that's fungus based. Yes, that's right. His scalp. Is he bald, or did he just? I mean, his scalp can be under his hair, so it's hard to say.
Yeah, 23. You'd hope not, but you never know.
Never know.
I like he says, thanks to the hungry little bat neighbors up there, the farmers around here never have to spray their crops with nasty pesticides, I assume also made by Macareno, to keep bugs from eating them all up, because the bats eat them all up. And just for context in this, he is paused in their driveway to the farm to tell her this story, to the kid whose mom died 5 days ago, and they haven't even introduced her to the no home. So there's been endless pages of bat discussion as she's probably do I have a bathroom? Am I going to have to sleep on the floor? What's going on in this house? And he's going on and on about how they don't have to use pesticides on their farm.
Things don't get better though when she goes into the house.
Great, yes.
So Uncle Roscoe, again, 23 years old, possibly bald, hard to say. Scalp showing somewhere under his hat. We don't know. Maybe he's shaved a tonsure like the monks. Who knows? He's a weird dude.
Yeah.
He terribly misses bats, and they're his friends. He misses them horribly when they fly south for the winter. So they go into his house. The house looked about 100 years old on the outside. So the inside was kind of a shock. It looked more like a computer store than a farmhouse. Uncle Roscoe had computers, computer parts, and peripherals, and books and magazines about computers piled on just about every surface, including the floor. He is not a well man. This guy, living alone.
It's a couple decades out from Home Depot buckets of poo. I mean, hoarding electronics. We've all been in a place where, maybe we all haven't. I've been in a place that was, a well-organized hoarder. A guy in San Diego, our friend's landlord. Unsettling. An unsettling thing to walk into a place where, the USB cables are stacked up, where you've got, power supplies and all that, more than you could ever need. It's not a good situation, especially for someone who lives alone.
Do you remember when you're a kid and you go to someone's house when you're young and you have that unsettling feeling of this family just lives so differently from mine, and you just didn't, you have no exposure to it. You just assume that every family lives this. I went to one person's house and it was it was super messy. And I remember just being stunned. I was like, what is going on? And then the phone rang and the mother couldn't find the phone because it was under all this garbage and trash. So it was ringing. And she's like, where is that phone? And I remember just going, what the hell? Get me out of here. And then, you just assume, like, I assume all families are like mine. We sit at, 6 o'clock and have our meal like this when Dad gets home from work.
Yeah, it's a kid's worldview. And it's,
so to discover that, wow, people live shockingly different lives where they can't find their own phone under piles of papers and clothes and things like that.
Yeah, that's like the reverse of the boy who comes over in To Kill a Mockingbird. What does he put on everything? Like ketchup or syrup or something? It's just like, Scout's like, what the hell's going on here?
What are you doing?
So yeah, he's like a tinkerer. He's our nerd voice is because he's a early computer geek adopter.
Yes,
and
then we get here's the Cline writing. I had to read it, so I'm going to read it for you. I'm sure this got selected as like bad sentence or whatever. He picked up her suitcases and led her up the creaky old staircase and then down the creaky old hallway to her new bedroom. The floor in there was awful creaky, too. Stop talking down to me, man.
Yeah, that's like a chorus of a nursery rhyme or something, just repeated so the kids can sing along. There's a creaky old spring bed in her, in her room.
Creaky things continue then, but that's super annoying.
Yeah, we do have, maybe if we have time, we'll get to an email, but we had someone who did write in that their 9-year-old decided to read along with this because of the, the intended age group. So I don't think he appreciated it either. he felt talked down to. So.
Yes. He's whipping his book across the floor, too.
What is this? Go, dog, go! Bam! And so she lays down on her creaky old bed. She starts to miss her parents, and then this struck me as unique because doesn't fit in with the Cline. Opal continued to stare up at the ceiling for a little while, thinking about her mama and her daddy and how the two of them were finally together again. Now that they were both up in heaven, she pictured them sitting on a cloud, catching up on lost time, which made her feel a whole lot less sad. And then Wade Watts came in and told her that, like, the sky daddy is not blessing your parents. They're
the flying spaghetti monster does not care about your.
It just struck me as he must have been swallowing his bile as he typed that one.
And then sitting on a cloud too was like, what's her view of stuff? Well, whatever.
Far Side cartoons, I suppose.
I guess so.
Welcome to heaven, here's your harp. Welcome to hell, here's your accordion.
Yeah.
Classic 80s. That's how that chapter ends. And the next chapter, all right, things start to get a little out of the ordinary, I would say. What chapter's called Out of This World. And it starts by saying, during the night, Opal had, keep this in mind, one of the strangest experiences of her life.
Not the, which, by the way, you mentioned things get a little strange. You know, that we do things a little differently here, kind of restaurant thing. Mm-hmm. We were at a restaurant. We were out of town, and I was with my wife, and the waitress came up and she said, "Have you dined with us before?" And my wife goes, "No," and I just like stared darts at her, like, "Why did you say that?" Well, okay, let me just explain things for you. And then she took the menu, like, we do things a little differently. And the whole time I just was looking at her like, why did you answer no?
Here's your screwdriver. That'll be how you impale your chunks of meat. And then we have a trough.
Stabbing myself with the menu. This is what I think how food works. Is this right? Oh, sir, no. These are your appetite. And she was doing the whole thing. I'm like, my God. So 2 minutes when she left, I was just like, why did you say? It's like I panicked. Anyway. So yeah, things get a little bit differently. Things go a little bit weird here.
She wakes up. She hears like a high-pitched noise coming from the attic, and then it was sort of covered in this real or fanfic. I thought it might be a little later in the book, but a bright light is not moonlight shining in her window. There's something big and shiny hovering in the sky directly over the empty field of grass adjacent to the farmhouse. And the picture in the book on the description is a giant metal disc as big as a whole football field. And it's pretty much a Plan 9 from outer space flying saucer,
Yes.
Ask a kid to draw a flying saucer, here's what you get. She immediately recognized it as a flying saucer, because she'd seen plenty of them before in the old black and white science fiction movies she used to watch with her mama on late night television. So keep in mind, one of the strangest experiences of her life. Go ahead.
Well, it's odd, her worldview then. So she's got heaven, peace. Mm-hmm. I'm not saying these are whatever. Lots of people hold these facts. And like, she was asking her mom, what did she say? If flying saucers were real, her mama replied, yes, baby girl, they absolutely are. And I know so for a fact because when I was little like you, me and your grandma saw a whole mess of flying saucers zooming right over this very neighborhood. So just her worldview all encompasses both.
Yeah.
Flying saucer, I assume they're aliens. Although, there's no reason to make that assumption.
At this point
maybe the Soviets make
the government
flying saucers or whatever. But,
yeah, and her mom, I mean, this is, it sort of explains some of this background, why they set the story here. There's something called the Lubbock Lights from 1951. It has a Wikipedia page, and it was sort of an early on UFO scare. A guy got a picture of it, quote unquote, and you can look it up. It sort of looks like a triangle of, bright, flash bulbs going through the sky. The prevailing theory is that it was like a bird called the plover that was reflecting a new street light. You can think whatever you want to, but Life magazine printed this guy's photos of it. So I guess it's a well-known, Area 51 type thing if you're into that Art Bell kind of stuff.
Yeah, he puts his little fun facts, by the way, in little pullouts, like little highlighted areas. By the way, when she woke up, she glanced over at the ancient clock radio, and its glowing radium dial showed it was 3 a.m. I looked that up. Radium was like phased out a long time ago.
Well, I mean, it's
but it is an ancient
farmhouse.
It just struck me as a not very 80s, classic 80s thing to have an ancient radium dial.
Maybe they had like
Curie came and gave her.
They had like glassware too of it. Like people sometimes post their collections of that. So maybe that was something that Cline's grandmother had or something.
Oh yeah, you can buy like plates or something on eBay, right? And then put the clicker up to them, and they're just like made out of irradiated stuff. So
the space age, your plates can kill you.
Yes.
And so part of the story about when Opal's mom had seen this a few years after the famous Lubbock Lights, I guess, she said the flying saucer showed up, and then they stopped and hovered directly over Buddy Holly's house. So, like, who knows what's going on here? I don't know if that comes into play later, but that's
Chekhov's Buddy Holly, right?
Yes.
Buddy Holly is an alien, I guess.
Right.
Okay, whatever. But then she was this intentional or not? So the Buddy Holly is mentioned. The flying saucers fly over there. Now the night had gone completely silent. Even the crickets and the frogs had all clammed up. Is the crickets mentioned? Is that a reference to Buddy Holly or just a clumsy accident?
Clumsy accident.
Okay.
I thought you were going to speculate that a clam woman might be involved in some
well, there's the sentence did strike me. The crickets and frogs had all clammed up.
A clam ate the frog. Oh, well.
Yes.
Wow, the crickets thing is a nice, good way to point that out.
He mentions it a couple times, the crickets. So I'm like, is that supposed to be intentional? I don't know.
But yeah, she's transported out to under the saucer. She's doing the whole, fire in the sky, like looking up at it. I didn't want something bad to happen to her here, but it would have been quite funny. And then she's transported back inside, and it seems that over 2 hours have passed since she heard the sound and had been transported out there. And those probings aren't instantaneous, so they've got to have some time to.
Probing ain't going to do itself. Yes. So it took what was it? 2 hours and like 7 minutes or something like that. Okay.
Right.
And
it
then
it blasted her with a light, and then it did the old like take off and like a Jetsons noise as it gets out of there.
And then she woke up. She threw back the covers and swung her feet out of bed. They were both covered in dirt and grass stains, apparently, as a result of prancing around barefoot out in that field. Is that what you do when the aliens abduct you? You prance around?
Yeah, maybe. It's like when the aliens anal probed Cartman, they made him dance to that old 30s cartoon song. Like, I'd like to sing about the moon and the June and the spring.
Okay, so prancing is part of it.
That's part of any alien abduction experience, yeah.
Let me see you prance.
That's
yes,
more
my overlords.
That's more of a cakewalk. Come on. And then this is great. I think the 9-year-olds reading probably appreciate this. It must have been sleepwalking, blah, blah, blah. It must have been a nightmare I was having. Sure, that had to be it. A sleepwalking nightmare that somehow felt completely real. Probably triggered by her intense grief over the loss of her mother combined with her anxiety about moving to a new place. Oh, all right, good. I wasn't sure about what could have had her in a different frame of mind here, but I appreciate having it spelled out for me because I am an idiot. I'm an absolute idiot, yeah.
It did remind me of one of my favorite things in old-timey movies, and prominently in Casablanca, where Ingrid Bergman says to Humphrey Bogart, I don't know what to think anymore, Rick. You'll have to do the thinking for both of us now. Wow. You are really in quite a state. Yeah. You can't even think.
Yeah, that's fainting couches. That's why they needed to have them.
That's true. Yes. Yeah, it's almost as good as the grabbing the women by the shoulders and shaking them horribly. And
Get yourself together.
Calm down. Such a weird trope.
Well, I was going to pause for fanfic, but I think this next chapter is where it really starts to get Cliney. So let's do this next one. Living Outside of Comfort, Chapter 7.
Yep. Cliney is hell here.
It's so good. This is, you're reading this, you're like, this is it's not good. It sort of treats the kids like idiots, but he's reserved a little bit. And in fact, last time you speculated that maybe this was him, having all his success, putting his name on books like, Franklin W. Dixon or, who's Clive Cussler type of thing.
Yes, I felt like this was, it was lacking Kleinian touches. Like the grammar and stuff were sort of plain. I think other people have pointed this out. I don't think I'm speaking out of school. It's sort of straightforward. Some of the prose is pretty boring. Missing that Kleinian touch. And then Chapter 7 happens.
I actually isolated your claim from last time. I'd like to play it back for people so they can hear exactly your statement.
Okay. I'll just unspool my theory now. There's been, as sort of dumb as it is, and as much as we hate big, old, beautiful, and all of that, this could be anyone writing this. And I feel like it might have been, because
Okay.
It's Cline in the sense that all of the Hardy Boys were written by Franklin W. Dixon.
And now I'd like to read how Chapter 7 opens. If you have any crow available, you might want to get a knife and fork. We do things a little differently here. We eat crow as our appetizer. When she got downstairs, she found Uncle Roscoe sitting on the couch in his Star Wars pajamas, watching cartoons while he ate Fruity Pebbles out of a comically large cereal bowl. Wow. He, he's like a guy at a bar fight. They were holding him back, and he's like, and he finally broke free and just started raining haymakers. Oh, man. Good morning, Opal, he said. Care for some sugary cereal?
I can only imagine he sent the first 6 chapters to an editor, and the editor was wrote in the margins of Chapter 6, where's that Cline I know? Sort of let yourself go, man. Have some fun with it. Yeah. And he's like, okay. Yeah. All right, here it comes.
Got to have some Easter eggs for the parents reading this book to their kids.
Then just a little bit later, she says, holy cow, she exclaimed around a mouthful of cereal. It's delicious. Then she began shoveling spoonful after spoonful of Fruity Pebbles into her mouth. He's off the chain now. He's gone. Yeah. It's just
he calls it multicolored ambrosia. There was no mention of what the prize was in the box. That's the only missed opportunity here. Fruity Pebbles, delicious. We'll give it to him. If you have a chance to have some. They hold up. But like more Kleinian than anything in Ready Player One. I don't know.
It's because pretty Kleinian. Yeah.
I just said I'm just going to read this next section in its entirety, and just to remember what you claimed earlier. Opal had never tasted anything so good in her entire life. She wolfed down the entire bowl in just a few minutes, then poured herself another one. She gave her uncle a sheepish sideways glance, but he just nodded in approval and handed her remote control for the television. Now, just remember, this is a farmer. We all know, we all probably have our stereotypes about farmers. Up with the chickens, their weathered hands, exhausted at the end of the day. Just the work never stops.
The work never stops. I grew up. Well, I went to high school in a farming community. I worked for a farmer, so I'd have to be at his place at 5 a.m. And he was. You could not get a more like central casting farmer. Just like had morning.
Taciturn, yeah.
Let's start. Then we eat in total silence. We'd work for a couple hours, then come back in and have a giant breakfast, which was eaten in complete silence. So anyway, that's a farmer. That's a farmer. So go ahead.
It's Saturday morning, he said. That means it's time for Saturday morning cartoons. He pointed at the TV screen. I've already got this episode on tape, so you can put on whatever you want. He was watching a cartoon she'd never seen before called Robotech, which had lots of spaceships and aliens in it. Opal changed the channel and immediately found her favorite cartoon, Muppet Babies, which was just beginning. Opal started singing along with the opening theme song. And then, deep breath, everybody. We're not done yet. And then Uncle Roscoe started singing it right along with her while doing a near-perfect imitation of Kermit the Frog's voice. Dear God in heaven, man. This had a surprising effect on Opal. It made her laugh. That is quite surprising to me. It filled me with rage to imagine the man doing that. The 23-year-old farmer, ward of a newly orphaned child, sitting there in his Star Wars pajamas, singing like Kermit the Frog.
But in the middle of it, I wondered, what did he? Why are there so many? And then he started crying like the bats are going to leave at some point. Oh my God, I miss them already. And Opal's just going, Roscoe. He's shoving aside computer books and stuff.
Yeah. Oh, the crunch berries taste like bitter in my mouth this morning.
Ashes.
Oh wait, Thundercats is on. That'll cheer me up. The mailman is like doing the thing where you're wedging so many foreclosure bills through the slot that they're getting shoved there. They're stuck in the. But then it moves on.
It's like you say. It's like you take the dog off the chain and you just let the dog run. So now just shoveling it on. Like, you open the floodgates, man. The dam busted. I can't stop it now. Cline's got to be Cline. They spent the rest of the morning watching cartoons and eating cereal and playing games on Opal's Atari, which her uncle had already hooked up to the big TV in the living room for her. After lunch...
Oh, let me guess. Visit to a local farming museum, or maybe a hard conversation about their mother's estate, like how that's going to be handled.
I assume after lunch, just chores.
Oh, sure, that's also on the table.
Hoeing the garden and mowing.
Just weeding, repairing fence. I mean, that's not a fun task.
Sure. Yes, putting the work gloves on and doing yes. No, Uncle Roscoe let Opal play a bunch of different computer games on his TRS-80. I did not know what that is, including one she really liked called Eliza, where she was able to say things to the computer by typing them in.
That's a great game. No, we had one that came with your Sound Blaster card on a Windows PC called Dr. Spatzo. That was, fun for 20 minutes once you got your...
Dr. Spatzo?
Yeah. SB for Sound Blaster. It was an acronym, I'm sure, just like this probably is. But
I thought it was, referring to the German egg noodles, Dr. Spatzel.
Spatzel, yeah, no.
Wow.
Yeah, very peculiar.
Very weird. Okay.
So she talks to this computer for an hour, asking it questions. Then, so this is, I think, when it's like he explains that, all right, we had our fun. Your new schedule is 4 a.m. wake-ups, start slopping the hogs. Then her uncle showed her a computer program he'd created himself called Farm Master that could help farmers figure out when to rotate their crops and calculate how much fertilizer to use. So just a whole big day of fun in electronics land.
In level land, it was the opposite of that, it says. So then she asks him about farming, I think.
Mm-hmm.
Yes, okay. Opal asked Uncle if she could help feed the cows or whatever.
Oh, my God.
And he says, it's when you keep a bunch of animals penned up in a corral or locked up in a cage their whole lives so you can steal all their milk and eggs, said the guy who slopped down a comically large bowl of Fruity Pebbles.
That's a good
day
point.
after day, year after year, until you finally decide to kill and eat them. Then you do the same thing all over again to their children. That's his view of farming. The farmer.
Yes.
The farmer in his Star Wars pajamas, eating comically large bowls of Fruity Pebbles, presumably with milk. So,
and like, all the books I've referenced so far for children have had, some hard truths. Roald Dahl books often have dead parents and trauma and stuff like that, weird, unsettling characters. This seems like it's going to be the thing that traumatizes kids more than anything, being like, Mom, are we really stealing hens' eggs and milk? It's like...
While eating the egg and reading at the dinner table. What are we doing?
Oh... but then, so he goes on to say, so that's his view of his profession, his family, how they've made their ends meet, or for centuries. But he says, I make ends meet, sort of, okay, not really, at all. He laughed again, but Opal could tell he was only half joking. She thought about those past due bills he'd stuffed in a glove box, but decided not to mention them. So she's just like, oh God, like, I could have fared better for myself back in Level-land. Like this man-child is unwell and is completely irresponsible. Like, I'm going to be going to school in a potato sack come fall.
Wearing a barrel. Yeah, this guy is like also stuffing them into his glove box and missing the bats. Like, he is unwell.
Denial.
He's clearly unwell. But then Opal knew exactly how he felt. This is how the chapter ends. But thanks to a whole lot of different song lyrics, like the ones Paul McCartney wrote for Yesterday, she also knew that holding on too tight in the past for too long could be really bad for you, even if it felt really good while you were doing it. Is that what you took away from Yesterday? Is that what she's saying?
The clumsiest thing I've ever read? Thanks to a whole lot of different song lyrics. Like the ones Paul McCartney wrote for Yesterday. What? I don't know. Not my takeaway from the song.
It wasn't mine either. Little trivia question. Do you know what he originally called it? Because he had no lyrics for it.
I do.
I was going to just make sure.
Uncle Roscoe might not be a fan.
Oh, not at all.
Scrambled eggs?
Scrambled eggs. Stolen from the children who you're going to eat. Scrambled eggs, yes.
Yeah. Just a sentence that could have been a couple sentences, and maybe it would have helped a bit more, but holding on to the past for too long could be really bad for you, even if it felt really good while you were doing it. So what he's saying there is that nostalgia can be a poisonous feeling, even if it feels good in the meantime, which is, I'm glad Opal took a lesson away from Yesterday then. Yes. I'm glad someone connected to this book has done that. Yeah, hack.
Yes. All right. Well, that's the end of the chapter entitled "Cline Gets to Be Cline." That one is called.
Well, so Cline got to be Cline. Let's see if the real or fanfic writers are going to be able to be Cline as well. All right. So here we are, real or fanfic. This is a beloved segment here on 372 Pages, where our Patreon supporters over at patreon.com/372pages come up with diabolical fanfic. Or they send in passages from later in the book that could trick you. And you have to decide which one is which. And, this is the author last time. Very, very difficult for you. But it was like that was like a malfunctioning TRS-80 from that Uncle Roscoe had been working on. So hard to say. You're deeply familiar with Ernest Cline, innovations, his style. So maybe this one will go a little better for you. I don't know.
The people are deeply familiar with him too, so it doesn't help me at all. I'm just going down, right? I'm just like crashing and burning.
It hasn't been good lately.
No, it hasn't been good,
you know, I don't know. I don't want to say it's, you know, like those final seasons of Albert Pujols where you were like, oh, they're just rolling him out there so he can hit 500 home runs. But maybe he'll have a late career resurgence, like. Well, I can't think of any, but maybe you'll defy those odds.
Well, I remember when the Twins brought Dave Winfield back because he was, I think, from St. Paul.
Okay.
And I think he DH'd. Probably didn't hit that. He probably hit, 2 1/4 or something. Mm-hmm. But a few times they put him in like right field, I think. He'd use his gun arm and he'd gun people out, and he just felt like, that's good enough for this old man. And so if I could just throw 1 or 2 outs, just gun someone down unexpectedly. Yeah. And you go, wow, that guy's still got a cannon arm.
Right. A Hall of Famer providing good clubhouse presence to the young players.
Sure, I'll take my consolation where I can get it.
But I do want to promote the Patreon where we've had... also, in terms of you guessing things, Encyclopedia Brown, mystery solving, but where the Paul Harvey tapes we discussed at the end of last episode, we talked about, speaking of family lore, my brother and sister both recorded their own version of Paul Harvey, the rest of the stories. Those have been tracked down and digitized, and they are, I mean, they're quite funny. So we will have you listen to them in real time, maybe, and we can comment on them. And there's a shocking scandal that comes out of them too.
Wow. So, I can't wait. And, just to the kind of stuff we put out there for our Patreon people, Connor taking down at long last The Long Black Veil by Lefty Frizzell from 1959, I'm going to say, maybe mid-60s.
Yeah, I was just listening.
It's about time.
It was. I was listening to it in my AMC Rambler, and I was like,
sure, rambling down the road.
This has got to go down. This beloved folk song. That is, about the same age as my dad needs to be.
And then you put on that fresh upstart Cat Stevens and started listening to his stuff.
We went to dinner, and I was telling Lauren about my theory, and I was like, "All right, I've got to share this with someone who isn't forced to tolerate it." So.
I'm glad we both annoy our spouses, because then I took on When Doves Cry because I've annoyed my wife with that, so I finally had to put it out there.
All right, number 1.
Okay.
Rainey and Red thought they died and gone to music heaven. After the show was over, they declared that ZZ Top was their new favorite band. Rainey and Red are bats. We will be introduced to them later. They used their claws to comb out the fur on their little bat chins in an attempt to make it look as though they both had long beards like their new musical idols. Then they spotted the band leaving in their fancy red hot rod and decided to follow them. The bats wound up crashing their big after party on the roof of a high-rise downtown hotel. None of the boys in ZZ Top seemed to mind.
Wow. I've got to say fanfic for that. That's good.
Number 2. Opal awoke out of her daydream with a start and was aware of her big blue scratchbook in her hands. She had opened it to her page devoted to the late, great Roy Orbison. He was a hugely popular musician from Texas who was famous for several hits, including Oh, Pretty Woman and Only the Lonely. Opal had always been fascinated by the similarities between Roy and her musical idol Buddy Holly. They were both raised in the desolate plains of Texas, and they both escaped their boring childhood through their love of music. And this fact tickled her pink. They were both known for their distinctive glasses, just like her.
Oh. I mean, it would be like him to drag Roy Orbison into this, and the glasses thing does seem logical, but I'm going to call it fanfic.
Okay. Number 3. According to my mama, a honky-tonk was A seedy nightclub frequented by folks who make bad life choices, where they play a lot of maudlin country music about folks who frequent shady nightclubs and make bad life choices. Do you need me to read that again? That was all one quote, and I stumbled over it.
No, I get it.
Okay.
Yes.
People also refer to the kind of music they play in those places as honky-tonk. So I guess you know you're in a honky-tonk if you walk in and hear them playing honky-tonk. Also, it just occurred to me that honky-tonk is spelled an awful like Donkey Kong. You could slap a few homemade stickers on any Donkey Kong machine and make folks think it was a game called Honky Tonk. It would be even funnier if you did it to a Donkey Kong game that was in a honky tonk.
Boy, is that tempting, because that is, someone has nailed his sense of humor, or it's just his sense of humor. That seems like something someone might want to pull out and try to get me with, so I'm going to say that's real.
Oh, wow, okay. I wasn't sure where you're going with that. Number 4. In the heart of the bustling city, under the neon glow of a crescent moon, Koenig and Lamar, those are also two bats we'll be introduced to. Koenig and Lamar found solace in the rhythm of the night. They discovered an old abandoned warehouse where artists like MC Overlord and the Ghetto Boys performed their songs because the acoustics were like nowhere else. Every evening, as the city fell into a lull, Koenig and Lamar would flutter down to their secret spot. As the bass thumped and the lyrics flowed, Koenig and Lamar would groove in the air, their wings slicing through the music-filled space. They'd spin, dive, and soar, lost in the artistry of the beats, the rhymes, and the soulful melodies that spoke to them like no other sound could.
That's a tough one. Not a lot to grab onto. I know that Koenig and Lamar are real. I don't know who they're references to, by the way, but classic 80s. I'm sure
I think it says they're all streets in Austin. I missed that the first time.
Okay.
I thought it was like a Kendrick Lamar thing, but
that's what I thought. But
it also could be
predated that. I'm going to say fanfic.
Okay. And then the last one, number 5. Opal heard her Uncle Roscoe and Wiley Woodburn argue in the next room. She turned up the volume on the Walkman, which she called the Buddy Machine, not only because it let her listen to Buddy Holly anywhere she want, a melomaniac's dream, but also because it made her feel like she had a real friend, a human friend anyway, that was a machine. But was that any weirder than having a big old mess of bats as friends? Opal thought not. Wiley was getting heated. Tarnation, Roscoe! I just don't see how you can say that these bats aren't rabid. There's a million of them, and they're all flying around in the daytime. Last time I checked, bats are nocturnal. It just plumb don't make sense. You can't convince me, and that's final. Opal heard the door open behind her as Wiley Woodburn made to leave. To her surprise, she didn't hear him cross the room and open the front door to leave. All of a sudden, she heard him say, "No way! Is that Megamania on Atari 2600?
I mean, I don't know. Coin toss. I'll say it's fanfic.
All right. Okay. All right. Well, Dave Winfield might still have something left in that gun of his. Number 1 was Rainey and Red going to see ZZ Top and clawing their chin fur to look like their beards. You said fanfic for that. That one was real.
Oh, God damn.
It's submitted by Brad and Ben. Whenever 2 people submit one from later in the book, you know you got that. So that's not good. Number 2 was Roy Orbison in her scratchbook. You said fanfic for that. That was fanfic written by Bart.
Okay.
So 1 for 2. Number 3, honky tonk is spelled an awful like Donkey Kong. If you could do that to Donkey Kong in a honky tonk, it would be even funnier. You said real for that. That is real.
All right. His sense of humor, I got it.
Oh, my God.
That would be hilarious if you did that.
Also submitted by 2 people. Amy and Jeff both
Nice.
got that one. Oh,
Yeah.
I'm so disappointed you got that. So that's 2 for 3. Number 4 was Koenig and Lamar watching the Ghetto Boys perform Damn It Feels Good to Be a Gangster in a downtown warehouse. You said fanfic for that. That is also fanfic.
Okay.
Written by Craig. I've not heard of MC Overlord, so that's a good pull. 3 for 4. Number 5, Her Walkman is the Buddy Machine, and Wiley Woodburn identifying the Megamania cartridge. You said fanfic for that. Jeff wrote that fanfic.
Whoa.
4 for 5. The ship has been
back,
right,
baby.
He's back. Hit the craps table later tonight.
Oh, Winfield.
Wow.
Throws him out at third.
I'm impressed. Yeah.
Gone right on the glove.
Wow, well done. Bravo. Thanks to everybody who submitted. Do better next time.
Be better. Okay, Chapter 8, The Clothesline Crew.
The Clothesline Crew.
Oh, boy.
Yeah, here's where it starts to get really, oh, boy. It starts with her being asked if she wants to go out to the cave and watch the bats fly out for the night. And Opal says yes to Roscoe's surprise. She had been terrified of the bats earlier, so it probably did come as a surprise. But maybe the UFO has scrambled her personality. I don't know. And it says when they get there, they see a few bats flying out and circling around. And Uncle Roscoe says, those are the scouts. They fly out first to check the temperature, see if it's raining, and make sure there aren't any mean old hawks or owls waiting around. And my question was like, wouldn't like these hawks or owls, like the sort of like the birds that don't live in colonies of millions, be like a lot more harder hit by the environmental practices of Macarno Industries?
You would think so.
You know, they are. They're rarer. Their population does not take a hit that much more. Their eggs are weakened by the DDT they're spraying. So,
and also,
but screw them, I guess.
What do they say? What are the two animals? 'Cause one is owls, right?
Hawks and owls.
Hawks and owls. I like them both.
Yeah,
owls are really cool. Like,
yeah.
I just thought that was why we were clearly putting our stake in the ground, saying bats are way better than those a-holes. Like, that seems odd.
I'm guessing a hawk eats one bat and like that subsists them for the day. Feeds their young with it, and 1 out of a million, they're repopulating quickly, I'm sure.
The other day I saw. Have you ever seen this? I guess like owls are nocturnal for the most part, right? But and crows like wake up early, but there's a little crossover, and they hate each other.
Nice.
So the other day I saw 2 crows in midair attacking an owl who was fighting him. So they were like picking him up and then like dropping him, and the owl was turning over and trying to fight, just like right in front of him. And the owl's like, "Can I just go home, guys? I'm done for the night. You guys can have the sky. I'm out of here."
Oh, man, I wish that Uncle Roscoe had it out for crows, so I would have to see you pretend like you were still disliking him, even though your worldview was the same.
Hey, even a stopped clock,
And so the bats start flying out, and it says, the sight affected Opal in a way she didn't expect. It was one of the most beautiful and profound things she'd ever seen. But, of course, she had just been singing along to the Muppet Babies theme song with a man in Star Wars pajamas. So just like the UFO being one of the strangest things, I'm guessing the bar here for profound sights is pretty low.
Yeah, the comically large cereal bowl was also profound. That was also one of the most beautiful sights in her life. So
yeah, but the third time Spirit in the Sky looped at her mother's funeral was deeply profound.
She'd had a giant hole in her heart ever since her mama died. Oh, that's right, her mom died. And this was the first thing to make her feel like it might be starting to heal. Really? I don't... that has not been my experience seeing bats. But, everybody's got a different threshold.
Well, the next sentence is, for some reason, this is just great text, for some reason, she suddenly felt a deep psychic connection to all those furry little flying critters. I think that the reason is because the author's depending on it, and it's sort of the rest of the book hinges on you accepting this nonsense. But it's like she could feel what they were thinking and feel what the bats were feeling. Right at that moment, they were all feeling mighty hungry, which causes her own stomach to growl. So we've got a batkin. She's going to be going to school with her bat ears on, and we're getting ourselves a Batgirl.
But then a shocking thing happens. They're both hungry, right?
Mm-hmm.
Starving. Well, it's taco night. We've got all the fixins back. I love tacos, Opal declared. Isn't that like someone Well, I once knew a person who said their favorite food was pie, and I'm like, okay, all right,
Yeah.
come on. I love pizza. Wow, you're really. I love tacos.
Well, they're fish tacos, 13-year-old girl. Like, oh, well, that's not something I'm familiar with. That sounds deeply repulsive to me. Like,
also, I don't have cheese because that would be enslaving an animal and stealing it. So it's
it is
soy cheese,
soy riso.
I don't like tacos.
Yeah. Wow. Whew. Wow.
And then it's Saturday night, right?
Oh man, threw me for a loop here.
So he said, and that means the best program in the history of television will be on later. My pulse quickened at this? Like,
oh yeah, I stopped reading. I stopped looking ahead, and I wrote down my guesses. I was
like, nice. What did you?
I mean, I just guessed Saturday Night Live, but then I was like, was Battlestar Galactica airing now?
Yeah.
I thought that might be it. I was thrown for a loop. It was, yeah.
Yeah, this one is I don't know, a little too on the nose. But they're going to eat tacos, a mountain of tacos, and drink a gallon of sweet tea. So, Roscoe's got, early onset.
Yes.
He's obviously not well.
No, he's bad diet, lack of activity, tons of sugar. Things are not going to end
sitting
well
in his
here.
PJs.
We know how this story goes.
Eating sugary cereal. Anyone guess who's not reading along? We had Saturday Night Live. We had Battlestar Galactica.
Yeah, if you had this ready to go here, let us know in the comments.
One of my guesses was just because he's a little bit different, was like Hee Haw.
Oh wow!
But I think that was on Sunday. I don't know, but Hee Haw came up last time, so
or just like complete left field. The McNeil Lair report.
Yes, right. We're going to sit and
watch.
It's
time to grow up.
Thing. Yeah. Well, we eat a mountain of tacos and drink a gallon of sweet tea. All right, we'll end the suspense. The show is Austin City Limits, which was on PBS, I think.
Probably. I mean, if that's how they're, he doesn't have cable. But
the greatest program in the history of television. I don't know. The readers, people watching Breaking Bad or The Wire might be like, I saw an episode of it. It was okay.
Yeah, it's sort of the quality depends on what you think of the guest. Right? Honestly, but Opal's deeply familiar with it already because she used to watch it back-to-back times with her mom.
Back-to-back, you say? That's new for Cline.
But yeah, so it is on PBS, and they broadcast out of Austin, and they get home and they get to watch the Ray Charles episode when they get there. She also names drops that she's already seen the Tom Waits episode, which a name I never expected to see in an Ernest Cline book. It hit a little too close to home. I had a Tom Waits poster above my bed freshman year of college, which people found off-putting. I'll get ahead of it. Yes, people did find that off-putting, but he was wearing 3 watches and playing the piano. It was so this was just
Connor
made
Cline
me feel bad. Yeah,
like
exactly.
This. Thick as thieves.
Twist the knife.
And she says, this is debatable. I'm not gonna. I don't know. We can have an argument about it. Ray Charles, the best piano player of all time.
Listener Janelle took big exception to this. So
I mean,
it was her dumb sentence.
Art Tatum, Horowitz, Paderewski.
I
don't know. Stevie Wonder. I don't. By the way, I saw a thing. Very hard to find Art Tatum online, the piano player.
Okay.
Considered by many to be technically the greatest pianist of all times. I read somewhere that Horowitz and Rachmaninoff back in the day would put on disguises to go see Art Tatum in clubs.
Like a food critic?
I don't want to be recognized, but I gotta see this guy. That's the rumor. I don't know if it's true, but that it is true that I think Rachmaninoff, or no, it was Horowitz said to Rachmaninoff, both from Russia and played each other's stuff. And Horowitz goes if anyone discovers this Art Tatum guy, we're out of a job, man. And he's just playing in clubs and stuff. But I love the fact that they're putting on fake beards, one for Art Tatum, please.
Hello there, Mark Rodanoff.
get on my shoulders and put on this trench coat. We're going to see Art Tatum.
And in an era before, recorded music was widely available, it would just be like, how would that put you out of business necessarily? Like, there's only one guy, so you can't be everywhere. Well, this took me by surprise because Uncle Roscoe, an Ernest Cline character, got really into the music. And believe it or not, he knew all sorts of interesting facts and trivia about the musicians. Did he keep it to himself? No, he shared it with her during each show. So it's got a classic example of a Cline male protagonist there, I think.
Another episode comes on, and we've never done this before. I want to have a guest.
Oh.
Because halfway through the Leo Kottke episode, while he was performing a song Opal really liked called Jack Gets Up. Lots of people maybe not familiar with Leo Kottke, so I would like to invite my wife, Bridget Nelson, to tell her very quick Leo Kottke story.
Hi.
Hi. This is highly unexpected. This is
I know.
Shocking. I will have words with Mike about this later. This is.
I know, but I heard a certain name and I thought, oh my gosh, it's just triggered a memory. So here I am. Triggered. Trigger's a weird word. I have not been triggered by your podcast.
Okay, good. Or by Leo Kottke.
Right.
What is this story? This is a bizarre, unexpected person to have a story about.
Okay, so this is the mid 80s because I'm from that era, and I was in summer school, college, or taking a summer class, and it was some sort of, I'm sure it was like a science class or something, because that's why I would have taken it, and I was not doing well in it, mostly because it required studying and homework and things like that. And I wasn't doing well. And there was this very kind, slightly younger young man in the class. And I don't know, maybe he said he'd help me out. So he and I became...
We've seen this book before, yeah.
So we would study together and stuff. And I started doing okay in the class, mostly because he was pretty much doing all of my work. But Anyway, it was a summer class and it didn't take much to pass. Anyway, and then one day he said, hey, I was wondering if you'd like to if you'd like to do something with me sometime. And I was like, oh, well, like what? He goes, well, I have tickets to see Leo Kottke and I'd really like to go. And I think it would be fun if you go with me. And I don't know if you know this, but my brain does weird things with certain words.
Okay.
For example, once Mike and I were at a restaurant and I ordered red snapper, but I was thinking I was getting lobster. So, that kind of thing. In my mind, I thought he said Spyro Gyra. Like I was thinking the band Spyro Gyra. I know this doesn't make any sense.
Sure,
Leo Kottke, but there was just something about it. So anyway, I was like, I kind of want to see them. And I really should say yes because he's been so nice to me.
Yeah, so, that's what he was counting on.
That's what he was counting on.
He had waited for the chips to pile up just enough that he could push him into the date.
So I said yes, and then it kind of dawned on me that it's not it's Leo Kottke. I've heard people talk about him. He's kind of like an NPR kind of guy. Anyway, we went to the St. Paul Civic Center, and I put on an 80s outfit, with the ribbon in my hair and a lot of bracelets. And then we went, and he tried to hold my hand, and I thought,
Stick to the periodic table, science boy.
Is the grade really worth it? Anyway, that's how I compromised myself for a grade.
Do you remember anything about the music, or was it just permeated by that sense of unease about
it? Was mostly that unease, and when will it get over, and then what are we going to have to do after this, and we have still a couple more weeks in the class, and he's a nice kid, but he's younger than me, so it was kind of easy to brush him off because he's younger than me, that was kind of where I went. But
and it was decades before the invention of the term friend zone, so there was no way to communicate what this experience was,
You're absolutely right. It was, yes, it was very awkward, and I was obviously using him, and I was obviously caught doing that in my own conscience, which I hated. And but the thing with Leo Kottke is it wasn't my kind of thing. He was clearly talented and everything, but I was young and had no idea of knowing he's an amazing guitarist. But as we sat there, I was like, oh, it's kind of cool. And he was quirky and kind of funny.
Huh.
And so by the end, I was like, oh yeah, I'm a fan. I like him.
I went and got a drink with Leo Kottke after the show and let that guy get his own ride home.
Anyway, yeah, that's my story. But mostly, I thought I was going to see Spyro Gyra. I don't know why.
And that little boy who Bridget friend-zoned was Michael J. Nelson. And now you know the rest of the story.
No, that's not true. That is not true. That's a whole other story. But there it is. And I don't know who that guy is. I've been thinking about it. I can picture him in my head. He also showed me my very first CD. Like, he's like, hey, I have a CD player, and this is a CD.
Wow.
And it was a Madonna CD, and we listened to it at his apartment while we studied, and I was awkward and worrying it was turning into a boyfriend-girlfriend thing. Anyway.
This CD, the packaging is in the trash can right there. You bought this right before I came over, and just so you could have a Madonna CD to play, didn't you?
Because he knew I would like
I know all the tricks!
Anyway, that's my story.
Thank you for sharing it.
You're welcome. Goodbye, Connor.
Bye, Bridget.
I'm handing over the earbuds. I hope it doesn't make me sound like a creep.
We've all been there.
No Leo Kottke story ever could. All right, there you go. There's a live human who saw Leo Kottke.
Yeah, I know about him because he recorded like albums with a guy from Fish, like the bassist from Fish, which I don't like Fish, but I listen to those, and I understand what he's talking about with the finger picking style and stuff.
Sure. All right, there you go. Mm-hmm. Leo Kottke, a live person who saw him. Not just on an episode of the greatest program of all times in the history of television.
History of television. Yeah, take that, Green Acres. Wow. My personal favorite. It's one of those ones where, like, I know the theme song to that. There's no reason why that should be the case, but, like, my dad must have sang it or something.
Green Acres is one of those where, like, when it's on, I got a creepy feeling in my stomach. Like, what is this? Why is anyone watching this? Kind of like when the Lawrence Welk show. You're like, what? Or like Hee Haw, like what is happening?
That's how I felt when MASH would come on at my grandparents' house. Like, it's time for us to watch our show, and I'm like, it's just more about like not getting to watch TV anymore than the show itself. But it was clearly not for us. So.
Right. This is designed for adults in a weird way.
But speaking of people that appreciate stuff that's not necessarily for them, the performance of Jack Gets Up by Leo Kottke is attracting a dozen bats outside who are hanging upside down on a clothesline and staring intently at the TV screen. And a few of them, Opal could swear, were bobbing their heads up and down slightly in time with the music. Opal didn't know how, but she could tell the bats were really enjoying it. So this is just another very, like, the Clinian worldview is that there's nothing better than sitting someone else down in front of the TV and making them watch something you like, and like telling them facts about it that to impress them. So
people love that.
Now they're even doing it to animals here.
And plus, Uncle Roscoe, when he's saying this, is like, looks like a few friends dropped in to watch the show with us.
Yeah. Come on, you're not pulling your weight on this mountain.
We're only halfway through a mountain of tacos. So then there's a picture of the, what is it, the Clothesline Crew? Is that what
they go on to name them the Clothesline Crew. And she can understand them. When she got within a few yards of the clothesline, she suddenly discovered that she was able to understand everything the bats were saying to one another. So, and that they appreciate the music. They love. They're also melomaniacs, just like her. Mm-hmm. And then, so after all that, we get this sentence, which I found delightful. Opal wondered if the bats' extra sensitive hearing allowed them to appreciate music in ways that human beings couldn't, because their ears could hear it more clearly and at many different frequencies. She wondered that. She walked over to the thing, and just that thought popped into her mind. There's lots of wondering. There's lots of sensing going on. There's lots of the characters themselves are third-person omniscient, which is a unique way of narrating a book.
Yes. And then the name dropping. I mean, if you aren't impressed by Leo Kottke, I don't know what I can do for you. But Opal decided to call the bats' strange music enhancing ability their mojo after she saw them all dancing and humming along to one of her favorite songs, "Got My Mojo Working" by Muddy Waters. And then after all that, mojo was another word for magic. Cline is back, baby.
Uh-huh.
State it again. Tell him what you're going to tell him. Tell him what you told him. Explain it, over-explain it, kill the joke, smother it.
Put it into the thing that reduces the grade level of the reading level that you're doing it for. Tell them that way. Maybe sign it out for someone just in case they're not sure.
Wow.
Oh, man. Yeah. So she nicknames them the Clothesline Crew. She likes their mojo. She senses which songs improve the mojo more and more. And then they just start leaving the window open so they can all watch the TV better. They start sort of catering to these bats who are showing up all the time. And then they eventually turned the TV upside down for the bats. Because then it makes the musicians look like the bats are, because they're hanging upside down watching them. It was just sort of a weary sigh kind of moment.
By the way, they didn't ask for that. Bats don't. They understand that they're hanging upside down, right? They don't think the world is upside down.
No, because they turn around when they fly. They understand where up and down are. Like,
so you don't need to do that. Oh, by the way, I forgot. I wrote down my guesses for the greatest show.
Oh.
I forgot about that. So I'll just read them now. I just saw it in my notes. Airwolf,
nice.
The Fall Guy, Simon and Simon, Riptide, or Magnum P.I. were my guesses.
I've never heard of Riptide. What is it?
I think it's just like a buddy cop kind of two guys and beaches and things, I assume. I don't know. I don't think I've ever seen Riptide.
Yeah.
I don't think I've
Richard
seen
Hart and Jerry Tide are cops.
Yes. I don't think I've seen any of the others for that matter. Oh, except Magnum P.I. We had when I was in college, we had a guy from Hawaii, and he would insist on watching Magnum P.I.
Wow.
Some guy had a big TV, and then he'd like invite. It was just a thing to watch him get so excited. Everyone was like, "Sure, I'll come over and watch Magnum P.I." And he'd be standing up like, "Magnum, yeah." I lived right on that place right there, right over there. He's like, "Okay." Every week. Yeah.
Are you wearing the Tiger's hat because of Magnum P.I.? No. So then it says Saturday nights weren't enough for them before long. The bats started showing up on Friday and Sunday nights as well. So this is just a little quirk that has quickly come to dominate their lives. And then they just the bats stick around even when the show ends. So there's always just, music going on. They blast the speakers out the window. Presumably this is happening towards late at night, so it's affecting his ability to wake up and farm even more. The farm is suffering even more with this new pastime.
And also he does this thing which I think, what's her name? Rachel, who's the chef?
Rachel Ray.
Rachel Ray. She does this thing where she abbreviates, she made it famous, the extra virgin olive oil, right?
Yeah.
But then after every time she'd say it, she'd go, some EEVO or extra virgin olive oil. You don't need to. But he says they put on an old tape of ACL episodes to watch their bat friends. Sometimes when the evening's episode of Austin City Limits was over, we're already calling it ACL. I tore my ACL. Your Austin City Limits? That's the only thing I know it as.
Yeah, it looks like that's he goes in between those interchangeably.
Yes.
But it then says, since her new bats loved Austin City Limits, I know it as ACL, so much, she decided to name each one of them after a street in downtown Austin. And that's where you get some of those bat duos that we mentioned in Real or Fanfic. Each one of them is paired up for some reason. And so, you just get... it's like one of those, like the Burger King Kids Club from the 90s, or like every now and then there's a scandal where a college will, send out the brochure, but they'll have like photoshopped in, people from other, demographics into there. So that's what these bats are like. They have a little bit of everything for everybody. They have R&B bats, country music bats, Tejano music bats, the rap bats, and then the rock and roll bats, and then they have like the mismatched duo La Vaca and Brazos, who are just sort of like wild cards, I guess. Opal sensed a lot of tension between them.
This reminded me of, speaking of dating myself, I mean, this is classic 80s, so why not? The Donnie and Marie show,
Okay.
the Osmonds, right?
It's the greatest show of all time to me.
Greatest show of all time. D&MS is what I call it. They had a little section they would do. It's wildly popular. You kids sit down now, grab your cereal, and listen to Uncle Mike tell you about the good old days of Donnie and Marie. They would sing to each other, "I'm a little bit country," and she'd go, "I'm a little bit rock and roll," or vice versa,
Yeah.
whatever. And then they do snippets of songs, and one would be a little bit country, and the other be a little bit rock and roll. But it was Donnie and Marie, like wearing, 70s tuxedos, so they were neither country nor rock and roll.
Yeah,
But
they were
people
bland
just like,
is what they were. They
yes.
were Mormon.
So good.
I didn't know that's where that came from.
That's what this reminded me of.
Yeah. But yeah, so you've got the every bat, and you have Koenig and Lamar, the rap. They love rap, hip hop, and funk music. I was reminded of in one of the Transformers movies, they had two bots that came in and were like, "Yo, yo, yo, Optimus Prime," like wiggity, wiggity, whack. So I feel like in another era that would have been how this would have been handled here, but I fear we're not going to get that type of a depiction here from Ernest Cline in the year 2024.
What was the movie we just did? Rem Lazar?
Yeah. Oh, yep.
Where he walked into a park and there was like a doo-wop group, but then they joined a guy who was rapping. And
Yes.
what was the only thing he was rapping?
Oh, I don't remember.
Just over and over again, something like the blandest, and everyone was clapping along. It was a very humiliating depiction of, I think it was supposed to be rap. But
Well, hopefully if Koenig and Lamar ever show up, they can just inform us who they are and what they're here to say before there's any, what their name is and what they're here to say before there's any further confusion. I think I've already called it Kendrick and Lamar too.
yes. And by the way, do we, like, if we mispronounce any of the names of Austin streets, we're probably in so much trouble. Because I'm going to say Pearl and Sabin, I'm going to say like Seven Brides for Seven Brothers, the musical. Huh,
Okay.
people? Huh? That's what they call them. They're the Sabin women. So I'm going to say that. And Trinity and Colorado. What's the street in New York that's spelled like Houston?
Houston.
Houston. Mm-hmm. And when you say it Houston, you're just like, that. I was walking down Houston. People are like, oh boy.
Yeah.
This
Chewing on my hayseed and
yes. Looking up at the tops of buildings.
Holes
you
in my
got some
shoes.
tall things around here. So I don't know. Caesar Jacinto? Jacinto?
Yeah. Mount San Jacinto is in California.
Rainy and Red, I'm on pretty good.
Lavaca and Brazos.
Yes.
Yeah. All right. Hey, I mean, Simpsons characters came from Portland streets, so, I mean, it worked for someone.
Yes.
Then, they contrast Lavaca and Brazos. That one of them is serious, one of them is carefree. But it turns out all of the bats are orphans, too. They had lost both of their parents to predators, accidents, or illnesses. It must have been those mean old hawks and owls.
And I know from, what's the name of the band? Friends Forever.
Dragon Sound.
Dragon Sound. I know that it's pronounced Orpans. I know it from that movie. They are all Orpans.
Orpans. But then it says, and now in a weird way, Opal and Uncle Roscoe had become part of that family of misfit melomaniac orphans too. Opal figured that must be why she felt so connected to these creatures. All of them were grieving from a terrible loss just like her, and just like her, all of them were trying to heal their broken hearts with music. She figured that.
She figured that. A little bit of projection going on there, maybe. I don't know. Yeah. It could be. You are just like me. The bats are like, squeak. Here's some
echolocating a mosquito
for you.
Yes. Oh. But then things were beginning to look up. But then everything came crashing down. End of chapter.
Mm-hmm. Good chapter end. I mean, everything came. I'll read on. Okay,
sure.
What's the crashing down?
Bulldozers and dynamite is chapter 9.
Good things?
That morning, the sun rose over the big, beautiful cave for what would be the very last time. And then we get to their depiction of the employees of, I keep calling it Dynatox, Macairno limestone. Mm-hmm. It says like there's like booms. The bats are flying out. Bat parents are scooping up their bat pups. And then they see humans with giant yellow machines.
The mean-spirited men in hard hats had also brought along something else. Something even worse than their monstrous yellow machines. An explosive called dynamite. A pretty big slam on just a guy doing his job.
Yeah. Is he like, hey, like, I volunteer at a soup kitchen. Like, do you know how much empty land there is in Texas? Like, we could bulldoze a couple caves here and there.
And also, big slam on dynamite, invented by Alfred Nobel, the Nobel Peace Prize founder.
Right, yes.
So, slam on dynamite. Hey, it was safer than what they were using at the time. Anyway.
And are the 9-year-olds out there reading it, being like, what an explosive called dynamite? This is new. I've never seen a Wile E. Coyote cartoon. This comes as news to me. You don't have to tell me what dynamite is.
Yes, dynamite.
You hack. Yeah. But I got wondering. He says this. They're mean-spirited men multiple times in hard hats. No regard for the natural world. Mean-spirited men had brought along something even worse. Well, what is the hiring process at Macairno Limestone if you seem to exclusively only employ mean-spirited men? And Macairno Limestone, as we learned earlier, does not have a real-world analog. But the folks on the dark web have devoted a lot of time and attention to, what would this company be like if it really existed? And, like, how would you ensure that you were only getting mean-spirited people, to make up your workforce?
Yeah, because, I mean, once again, we know what their mission is, so.
To pollute waters, to knock wildlife out of the skies, to blow cops off mountaintops in pursuit of their god, the almighty dollar. So the people on the dark web found out what a typical interview session would be like at Macairno Limestone if you were trying to get your next bulldozer guy or your next guy to maintain the wrecking ball or something.
Well, that's cool. Well, we'll put the URL in the thing.
No. I downloaded it.
And, you did?
Yeah, they sort of they figured that out. They recorded like one of these things.
Oh, I see.
People do mock interviews before they do a job, like type of thing.
Sure,
it's like training for that. So these guys were like doing a mock interview for Macairno Limestone, and they uploaded it. We can listen to what it sounds like.
All right.
Yep.
Sir, your 2 p.m. interview is here.
But it's 3:15. What are you doing just bursting in here?
Yeah, that broad tried to keep me out, but I told her to shove it. Hey, Tom Simmons, how the hell are you?
Marty Macairno Limestone CEO. Did you have any trouble finding the place?
Ugly old building like this? Nah, stood out like a wart on my ass.
Well, if you parked in the garage, be sure to have Mary validate your parking when you leave.
No need. Parked across 2 handicap spots right out front.
I see. Well, here at Macairno Limestone, we spend a lot of time outdoors in our great state of Texas. Tell me, do you have any regard for the natural world?
The what now?
The natural world.
Not familiar with that concept.
Okay, no regard for natural world. Next question. How many windows are there in New York City? You're making the J-O gesture. Got it. If you were a tree, what kind of tree would you be?
Does the kid who cut down that giving tree count?
Any volunteer work we should know about?
Yeah, I put in 10 hours a week at the local boys club.
Is boys club what you call the strip club?
It is.
Okay. Where do you see yourself in 5 years?
At the boys club.
All right. Let's do some word association. Just tell me the first thing that comes to mind.
Scamming the elderly.
I didn't say anything yet.
Oh.
Okay, first one. Workplace.
Harassment.
Old Yeller.
Had it coming.
Emperor Palpatine.
Unfairly maligned.
Respecting your peers.
Not for me.
Well, Tom, you are a mean-spirited man. Potentially a sociopath. All I can say is, welcome aboard. and you've thrown a drink in my face. I'll have Mary draw up your paperwork. You can start Monday. Do you have any questions for me?
Yeah. Why do you have a framed picture of a cow on your desk?
That's my wife.
I know.
Well played, sir. Well played.
Yeah,
Okay.
It's, that's a good way to ensure you get mean-spirited people, for sure. I don't know.
Yeah.
It might make for a less fun office Christmas party. I don't know.
Yeah, it's got to be a hard place to work. Guys, just one day can we be nice to each other? It's like, no.
Now, go to hell.
What are you talking about? So they're tearing this hole down, by the way, and then so the bats are scooping up their pups and they're flying away, right? Mm-hmm. With them, I don't know. I guess carrying them in their claws, whatever.
In their mouths, maybe, like
I
baby
guess.
Bjorn bats.
Yeah. So then all the bats, realizing their home is being destroyed, they look back. I assume they were singing Boogie Back to Texas. I like to imagine they were singing that.
Boogie back to... Oh, right. Oh, damn.
Oh, place is being destroyed. Oh, I mean...
Simultaneously singing it.
Yes.
I liked it as they look back and it's their home had just been destroyed forever right in front of them. The bats didn't know what to do. There were nearly 1 million of them, and they were all suddenly homeless. Now here's Leon Redbone on Austin City Limits. Anyone feel like getting their mojo on? No? Okay, whatever.
Star Wars pajamas? Big Beautiful Cave is mentioned 800 million times there. Oh, here, and then Brazos is one of the bats?
Yeah.
Okay, so that's a street. Am I pronouncing that right? I don't know.
Yeah.
I did not look this up. Did you? You're Gonna Miss Me by the 13th Floor Elevators?
13th Floor Elevators rang a bell. I don't know if did they sing Incense Peppermint?
Oh, I thought that was Strawberry Alarm Clock.
You're correct. It's another very stupid band name. Yeah, I'm not familiar with that one. I'm sorry.
Okay,
I think it's
I
of the
didn't
same
look
era,
it up either. Yeah, I'm assuming it's
Roky Erickson. That's a name I know.
Classic 80s, right?
But yeah, Brazos is singing that as a guy, one of the evil, mean-spirited guys is listening to that, and Brazos recognizes it.
Oh, okay. They were just getting started. They kept right on blasting massive holes in the earth all day long, and each explosion sounded like the end of the world. Because it was. I mean, it wasn't, though, right? If that was it, then
no, it wasn't.
The book would just that would just end. We wouldn't have it.
Yeah, but so humanity is like the orcs in Tolkien, right? They're just coming in and just like devastating the natural world because they
tear them
like
all
to.
down.
Yeah. Burn those things, blast more holes. We love to do it. I'd do this job for free.
You never work a day in your life when you love what you do.
Yeah, I don't know. Hopefully they're wearing masks if the amount of guano from 1 million bats that's piled up. It's the histoplasmosis doesn't sound fun. Or maybe we like it. We like being sick because we're so evil.
So their home is destroyed, and then also what they didn't know is that Opal and Uncle Roscoe were in the process of losing their home too. That's the end of the chapter, by the way.
Got it. Yes. Yeah.
I mean, that was sort of like, yeah, right? Foreclosure notices stuffed into his glove box of his Ramblin' Red Rambler.
Right. Well, the bats didn't know that, I don't think.
The bats didn't know that Opal and Uncle Roscoe were in the process of losing their home too.
Yeah. Oh,
okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
So, but the bats, like, they could sort of be sizing up to being like, I mean, I like that he's turning the TV upside down for us, but like, this guy does not have his shit together. Like, whereas, does Child Protective Services understand echolocation? Because like, we ought to alert them about this situation.
I mean, the weeds in the front yard alone, like, dude, come on. Like, the home value, put up all the signs you want. It didn't stop those mean-spirited men in the hard hats.
You know, if you don't steal, quote, a cow's milk every now and then, it gets extremely painful and dangerous for them if you're just, like, leaving it there. Like, what are you doing? Like,
Okay, so the bats didn't know, I guess. I mean, can the bats read? Like when they're like Austin City Limits, I assume they put up chirons.
The artist
of
name?
The artist name. Can the bats read upside down?
I guess we're going to find out.
Because, could they like see through? They could see the bill sticking out of the glove box and kind of see the red notice on the side.
Yeah, are bats colorblind? They
I
wonder if that text is red. It would signify a lot to me if it was, but I can't see.
Final notice. I'm reading that upside down. I can do that on the bat.
Are they able to see the marquee where ZZ Top is playing for that segment later on? I don't know. But yeah, so they're essentially saying like there's a million homeless bats now, and a storm is coming like on the horizon. So they're going to need a place to go, which happens in our final chapter, chapter 10, Foregone Conclusion.
Foregone foreclosure.
Sorry,
yeah, of course.
Yeah, I completed it. I did the in the springtime.
Yes. All right, so she's having a nightmare. She woke up with a shriek. Mm-hmm. I think in one of the fanfics she woke up with a start.
Oh, nice.
Right? So the cliches are, you're not far off there.
Exactly. And it's the second time she's sort of woken up to an unsettling noise in this new house. So, maybe this introduction of all this sugar to her diet has not been the healthiest choice if she's having night terrors all of a sudden.
But she got dressed as quickly as she could, hurried downstairs to tell Uncle Roscoe about the nightmare. I think that was one of the first things we taught our kids is like, I'm not interested in your dreams. Please do not.
Yeah.
Are
you there? Is the radium clock there? You're good.
Yes. I think I've said that to people like, look, I'm not going to tell you my dream, but here's one little funny part, and they're like, I'll allow that, but you really got to watch yourself here.
We did just make people spend maybe 12 hours listening to someone else's description of their dreams. So,
well, that's right. And didn't I? Oh yeah, I talked about one of my dreams. You insisted that I tell people about one of my dreams. So I apologize.
But so when Opal goes to tell him about her dream, we glossed over this the first time, but when he saw the bats on the clothesline for the first time, he fell out of his chair, literally. And then when she wakes him up and says good morning, it startled him so badly he literally fell right out of his chair. So he might need to change something in his diet too, because he does seem a little high strung if he's falling out of his chair on multiple occasions. It's just not a healthy behavior for even a 23-year-old.
I mean, it's not good. And again, he doesn't see the issue with a big gallon of milk and Fruity Pebbles come out again. Uh-huh. Well, why not another cereal? Enchant us with some other.
Yeah,
right.
You think those are good? Cinnamon Toast Crunch is drink the milk after that, and it's
that wins the polls, right? It's the best.
The best cereal milk there is.
Milk? Yeah, Cinnamon Toast Crunch.
Uncle Roscoe's rigging those polls. Right. He's a 57-year-old on Reddit weighing in heavily on that. Yeah, so they're drinking Fruity Pebbles. She's noticing the eviction notices and stuff, and it's like that's what he handles this. He breaks the news by doing that, and it was just sort of I don't know, some people remember that show Party of Five, classic 80s show from the 90s.
Oh, classic.
That was about probably a 24-year-old taking over a family, but it's all right, I'm in charge now. I'm responsible for the upbringing of this person. I'm going to make some changes. I've been living the life of a 23-year-old Star Wars pajama dipshit until now, but things are going to change. But it's nah, I stopped farming and I'm eating Fruity Pebbles in my pajamas. Didn't affect my life at all to have this 13-year-old now, other than we stayed up late watching TV more often.
It might have been something also to bring up, before he took her and put her and rambled down the road with her to his place. Look, I'm in no position to raise you or give you anything. I cannot provide for you.
Yeah.
I can't even keep my house out of foreclosure. I'm a terrible farmer. I do nothing right. I don't even work on a Saturday or Friday.
True, yes.
I turn my TV upside down for the bats.
Because he says, I was just curious about the timeline. He says, I screwed up pretty bad. I got too far behind on the mortgage payments for this farm. And now the bank has decided to foreclose on it. That means they're taking the place away from me. And as of this Friday, I won't own it anymore. The bank will, and they want us out by the end of the month. So I was I don't know how long this actually takes, but you have to imagine that you have to miss several months of mortgage payments before this process gets anywhere close to this far along, you know? Like,
Yes.
they'll like, look, we'll get a payment plan, we'll do all this stuff. So by the time her mom died, he was well into not having paid the mortgage for months. He had clearly stopped farming. None of this was working out. His heart was not in it. So he was like, yeah, sure, I'll drag another person down with me as the ship sinks.
And then he says, "Oh, why didn't I just sell it to Macarno Limestone when I had the chance?" And, you know, if I were her, I'd just be staring at him like, you turned that down? You moron? What? Why didn't you sell it to Macarno? No, she says, because you're a good person, Uncle Roscoe. She's anti-Macarno?
Yeah. I mean, she could tell that they were mean-spirited. I mean, she's
that's
about
true.
to say that, use those exact words to describe them. Yeah, I don't know. I feel like once they've come in there, once they've bulldozed, they've TNT'd, you have to imagine they've got their chemical dumping truck right into the stream. Like, the groundwater is going to go pretty quick. And, you know, I'm sure they just sort of like spray pesticides for fun into a prevailing wind. So I think your property's doomed no matter what, even if the bank takes it over.
It's true. I'm assuming he has he uses well water, right?
Oh, for sure.
That's ruined. I mean, it's Dynatoxis.
He says, I fell behind on the mortgage payments long before you... Oh, he admits it. Long before you got here. It's been losing money since before my daddy passed. This is happening because I'm a rotten farmer and a stubborn idiot to boot. But hey, remember when I sang the Muppet Babies theme song in a Kermit the Frog voice? Huh? That was good.
Let's get you laughing again, huh?
Yeah, right. Okay. I did miss the school registration deadline, so you will be held back. But Pee-wee's Playhouse? No?
Does he even... I wonder, does he pretend even to farm anything, or did he just give all that up? Like, does he put crops in the ground and then he's just like, I'm not going to weed them?
Yeah, moles got him. Oh, well.
Yeah, I mean, that's what I wonder. Does he spend like a day planting beets or something, and then he's just like, turns his back on them and lets them go?
Yeah. I mean, it's a cliche of doing that, keeping it in the family because you don't want to do it. But, like, he should have sold the place before the bodies were cold, you know? He clearly, you know, has a techie brain. He wants to go to school. Like, I think he said he got into school but couldn't go. So, like, man, very frustrating.
Well, I mean... Going bald at 23, it makes you do weird things. You don't, who knows?
Yeah, that solar panel for a sex machine is just, it really scrambles your circuits.
Circuits, something he knows a lot about.
How about this sentence? In the distance, she could see a giant mass of dark storm clouds gathering on the horizon. She took them as another sign. Sign of terrible writing? I don't know. Like, you don't need to tell us it's a sign. We all know what storm clouds on the horizon are. It's a metaphor everyone knows.
Oh God, it was a dark and stormy night.
And then Uncle Roscoe, Opal called over her shoulder in a voice suddenly filled with fear. We've pointed it out suddenly as a pet peeve here on the podcast. Over under on how many they use?
Of suddenlies?
Yeah.
Ooh, boy. That's a good question. It's like, I remember once, this is just a tip if you're writing your own screenplay or describing it to someone, don't say smash cut. I saw that from a screenwriter once, like, executives hate that. Like, a cut is a smash. Like, it's up against the other thing. You know, smash cut to, like, no, it's a cut to. That's all it is.
Right.
Anyway, suddenly I'm going to say 12.
48.
Wow.
And they stack up in the following page, which has just, I'll read it in real time. We can keep track. Her uncle had been gone only a few minutes when the sky outside suddenly darkened. And the biggest, loudest, nastiest thunderstorm Opal had ever seen descended on the farm, like the righteous wrath of muttered nature had suddenly been unleashed from the heavens. So that's 2 in one sentence. That's an amazing feat. Wow. Rain was falling in sheets as thick as lead, while crooked tines of lightning arced across the rumbling sky, and waves of rolling thunder rattled the windows of the old farmhouse. She suddenly felt awful for sending Uncle Roscoe out into that mess. So that's 3 in 3 sentences. The editor had reviewed it on Goodreads. Maybe she should have suddenly diverted her attention back to the actual manuscript.
I just think of us, doing our slaving away at our writing, and if you have the joke in front of the the next joke has a sound that's similar. We're like, yeah, we should probably change it because the sound is similar. Imagine reading this and going like, suddenly.
Just tossing them in. Lightning bolt.
Yes.
Yeah, exactly. Just the dedication to the craft isn't necessarily there, I guess, by the author or the editor.
No.
And then she's worried about the bats who are out there in the rain, and she thinks it's going to be hard for them to fly. But then she notices the clothesline crew. It was like they had appeared out of nowhere. Suddenly. I don't know. Yeah.
And so they open up they hang clotheslines for them, right? And they let them come in or something like that.
Well, she informs him, Uncle Roscoe, that a bunch of mean-spirited men showed up this morning to destroy it. So she picked up on that. That was their vibe was, did their shirts say that? Macareno Limestone, a mean-spirited company.
There's one like really nice guy, but he's got to pretend. He's like, "Hey guys, I brought donut. I mean, go to hell, all of you."
Hey, Jenkins, was that you reading books to the kids down at the children's hospital I saw when I went in there to not apologize to the kid I hit with my car? Oh, no, that wasn't me. That must have been
there's a lot of guys look like me. I don't know.
Oh, I was dumping my garbage on the high school baseball field. Yeah.
That's more like it. You're one of us.
So yes, they start. They make a makeshift roost for the bats by running a bunch of clothesline outside. No, in the barn. Mm-hmm. In the barn. And then
yes.
She asks them to string it even closer together because the bats like to snuggle up side by side to keep one another warm. And then they go to the farmhouse's attic. They string clothesline there. And then they go to the garage, the chicken coop, and the house's front porch. And when there was nowhere else left, they started stringing out clotheslines in the living room and kitchen, too. So, again, I'm not familiar with foreclosure law. One of our listeners wrote in to say they do foreclosures in Lubbock, so we'll get to that. But,
okay.
But if you get foreclosed on, that's not like a golden ticket to be like, so just do whatever you want to the house, trash the joint. Because now that we are about to take care of it, it's off of your hands. Like if you just let thousands of bats into your house and the guano piled up, and you let the rain and the wet in, like you'd be on the hook for even more damages, right?
I would think, right? It's the property of the bank, so the bank has a right to go like, oh, you can't do that. You're not Mike's uncle. You can't have frozen buckets of feces all over your house.
Good thing he left that to his nephew instead of us taking it over. That would have been not our problem.
And those AMC cars in the driveway. Oh, boy.
And then they say that even though they've strung them all up and the bats are warm and snug and next to each other in their house, Opal, that she knew it wasn't a permanent solution. The colony needed a new place to live, and so did she and Uncle Roscoe. Opal didn't think this was a coincidence. To her, it felt like destiny.
But they do say explicitly 1 million bats, right?
Yes, there was 1 million bats in there.
Where are they going to find a new home for 1 million homeless bats?
I mean, I don't know what the size
of clotheslines, right?
Quality is. Yeah, it seems like it'd be hard to have had that much line, or the storm probably ran out before they've got it all strung. I don't know.
Yeah,
but he proposes packing up our troubles and moving to Austin. And that's where the chilling, the deeply unsettling thought occurred to me. Is this going to be like Gump and Company? And is Ernest Cline himself going to appear in this tale we're reading?
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
Oh, boy. I never thought of that.
Yeah, not a good sensation. Hi, I'm Ernie. I'm just at the ZZ Top concert, too. Look at these bats. Isn't that something? Well, I got to go put a coin in this Space Invaders machine. It says Ready Player One. How about that? I don't know. I bet people would have already submitted that as real or fanfic.
Well, I was going to say, now I'm going to know that it's.
What is Uncle Roscoe's response when Opal is down to move to Austin?
Look out, Austin! Here we come.
Oh no! Earlier than that, he hits us with All right, all right, all right.
Oh, there it is.
How dare you, sir?
Oh, didn't on Between Two Ferns, didn't what's his name do that to
Zach Galifianakis?
Zach Galifianakis did it to him.
To McConaughey?
He's just looking down, his shtick, and all right, all right, all right. And McConaughey looks at him quizzically and he goes, "Oh, I'm sorry, I was just reading the box office returns for your last 3 movies." And of course he does the slow burn.
Oh, man. Oh, why did this book have good humor? Yeah. Fun. But yeah, they say, "Look out, Austin, here we come. I have no routine or structure. I wake up terrified every night. My caretaker is woefully incompetent. The bank might send, guys after him to recoup the money from this trashed house. But here we come."
I have a hole in my heart that's just beginning to heal, by the way. So that's an issue to look out for, I would say. But there they go to Austin. So that's the end of chapter 10.
Nice. All right. Well, I promised that. All right. Okay. Let's get to some. Let's do an email or two.
Mail call.
All right. This first email is from Amanda, who informed us that her son Jay is 9, just in the target age group for a book like this, and he has been listening to some of the Encyclopedia Brown episodes.
Nice.
So I asked him if he wanted to read along as well, and he was psyched. He definitely doesn't get most of the references, but when he got to the part about the bat telepathy, he called me into the room to tell me the dumbest thing ever had happened. He was reading ahead of me and the reading at that point in time. So there's a response from an impartial 9-year-old. And it said, then she added, "Today, my son and I were talking about the book some more on the way to the grocery store, and he said, I just don't get why he said it 40 years ago. And it took me a second to recover from, except the fact that, yeah, the variety of 80s garbage was indeed 40 years ago." Yeah. And the answer she gave was, well, that's when he grew up, and that's all he knows about, and he's too lazy to find out what kids like now. But then I emailed back, and I was like, so your son is 9, so he was born in, what is that, 2015?
Mm-hmm.
And so this book is, 31 years before that. So that's like me reading a book that was set in 1955, I think, and just being expected to tolerate the the references to the Red Skelton radio program and Life with Luigi, that sort of thing.
Is there something called Life with Luigi?
There is. It's about like an immigrant or something. My cousin had a set of old-timey radio shows, so I guess that disproves my point. He loved them. Anyway, I'm glad that Jay thinks this is the dumbest thing ever, and I'm glad we have a 9-year-old reading along with us.
And this, just to remind people, this is coming from someone whose brothers and sisters did Paul Harvey tapes. So he expects up to the date, up to now references.
One more. We can do the other ones as a bonus, maybe.
Okay.
We don't have enough time. This is from Jacob. Just to preface, I'm a librarian and my wife is an English teacher, so I think the two of us are capable judges of good literature. Given that Cline has decided to tackle the concept of death in a children's novel, we thought it would be appropriate to compare how death is handled by more established, well-respected children's novelists. Here are a few passages we pulled from some true classics. So the difference here is shocking. This is from Charlotte's Web, 1952. Oh, yeah. She never moved again. Next day, as the Ferris wheel was being taken apart and the racehorses were being loaded into vans and the entertainers were packing up their belongings and driving away in their trailers, Charlotte died. The fairgrounds were soon deserted. The sheds and buildings were empty and forlorn. The infield was littered with bottles and trash. Nobody of the hundreds of people that had visited the fair knew that a gray spider had played the most important part of all. No one was with her when she died. Wow. Here's Wilson Rawls, Where the Red Fern Grows. After the last shovel of dirt was patted in place, I sat down and let my mind drift back through the years. I thought of the old KC baking powder can, and the first time I saw my pups in the box at the depot. I thought of the $50, the nickels and dimes, and the fishermen in blackberry patches. I looked at his grave, and with tears in my eyes, I voiced these words. You are worth it, old friend, and 1,000 times over.
Wow. Did you say, was it baking powder was referenced?
KC baking powder can.
Isn't that a conspiracy theory from
That Calumet baking powder from The Shining. Yeah,
The Shining?
that's how he admitted it was something or other.
He faked the moon landing because there was baking powder.
A common
Something.
brand of Calumet baking powder. Yeah, that would have been nice. That would have all tied it together. But then Jacob added, how does Cline tackle death? With Atari cartridges and a one-hit wonder played on repeat. Oh, well, at least Cline resisted having Opal deliver an out-of-place atheist rant a la Wade Watts as a eulogy. It was very hard to resist the urge not to add, said the robot pimp disdainfully after reading both of those. He also submitted one from Tuck Everlasting by Natalie Babbitt. That was one I read all of those as a kid. And, both of those books, Charles Webb and Redford Gross, made me cry, but, it's not like you don't remember them as, something you're scared of. It was just a good book that you read and affected you emotionally.
Right.
All right. Well, let's do some dumb sentences.
Here's, by the way, a sentence that's probably not readable. Sorry, too much light on it. Handed to me by my wife. It says, Leo Kottke lives in Minneapolis.
Wow.
So she just wanted everyone to so we could have him come over to and tell his own story of the time he entertained Bridget.
Yeah. This kid still sends me letters saying, I took a girl to this concert and I'm gonna get you one of these days because it didn't work out.
Yes.
It's time for the dumb sentence of the week.
So these are dumb sentences submitted by our listeners. Many of them are beloved Patreon listeners. Patreon.com/372 pages. Rants about old songs. If you don't want to, that doesn't, intrigue you, I don't know what will. So get on over there. I appreciate everyone who does it. I didn't even know you had posted the When Doves Cry. I've got to listen to that as soon as we stop this.
Oh, okay, yeah.
I thought you were just teasing something you might do, but
No, it's up there. It's live, baby.
Great. All right.
Yeah.
Nice. Okay, get over there, and then you got the encyclopedia book of wacky crimes too. So
Oh yeah, we can. I just perused it a little bit. It probably won't yield much.
Okay.
Because it's just it's like a Paul Harvey rant. So you might love it. Did you hear about the time this guy got arrested for putting a tarantula in some girl's hair? It's just stuff like that. So
Nice. Okay.
it's I don't know how wacky it is though, but we'll see.
Sure. All right, but here are the submissions for this week from Theodore. Each one was operating a mechanized yellow monster called a bulldozer, or an earth mover, or a wrecking ball. And Theodore said, yes, that essential piece of mining equipment, the wrecking ball. Rob, Josh, and Amanda all submitted. When she got downstairs, she found Uncle Roscoe sitting on the couch in his Star Wars pajamas, watching cartoons while he ate Fruity Pebbles out of a comically large cereal bowl. One of them just added in all caps, "Welcome back, Cline." Sarah and Craig both submitted the hell of a sentence. But thanks to a whole lot of different song lyrics like the one Paul McCartney wrote for Yesterday, she also knew that holding on too tight to the past for too long could be really bad for you, even if it felt really good while you were doing it. Colin submitted, it was a giant metal disc is a whole football field. And he said, yes, football fields, famously disc-shaped. Jim submitted, I'm still full of Whataburgers. Mike submitted, the question seemed to catch him off guard. There's Cline. You're the narrator. It caught him off guard or it didn't. Janelle, we already discussed this, submitted Ray Charles is the best piano player of all time. She added in a Wade Wattsian rant that I'm not going to read. Bart submitted, he always gave them, the bats, a friendly wave whenever he saw them flying overhead. And he said if there were a million bats, he's going to be waving for at least an hour. But Brian submitted, when Uncle Roscoe did this, the clotheslines crew nearly lost their collective bat minds, squeaking and flapping their wings and swinging their pointy little tails around. Jackson submitted, we forgot about this is what Uncle Roscoe's prospects were. And the local Radio Shack has been trying to hire me forever, full time with benefits. So I don't know if that's a little humble brag or... Claire submitted a bunch of mean-spirited men showed up this morning to destroy it with bulldozers and dynamites. She pointed out that the phrase mean-spirited men was used 4 times, not even just mean-spirited. Harrison submitted, to her, they both looked and sounded just like an older and younger version of her late husband. And he said, this sentence seems fine until you remembered he said the exact same thing about his character Zach in Armada. It made his mom sad because he looked just like his dad.
Oh, wow.
Jeff submitted long and loud. He said, that's just a sentence. Cline keeps adding these fragmentary follow-ups to utter sentences, and it's really annoying. Hayden submitted, that means they're taking this place away from me, and as of this Friday, I won't own it anymore. And Hayden says, this one is probably stupid only to me because I do foreclosures in Texas, but they only ever happen on the first Tuesday of each month. I guess only certain things are worth researching for an asterisk and info box. Hayden's offices are on Buddy Holly Way. So, Alex submitted, I got too far behind on the mortgage payments for this farm, and now the bank has decided to foreclose on it. Alex said, this might be a nitpick, but I think it's worth pointing out that Uncle Roscoe is making mortgage payments on a farm that, quote, has been in our family since 1865. So he says, maybe they took out a second mortgage or something, but I probably would have just changed mortgage to loans. Nathan submitted they were mean-spirited men in hard hats with no regard for the natural world. He said, I guess when Ogden Morrow built that Lord of the Rings Elf City recreation, those were happy-go-lucky construction workers who adored nature. Cameron submitted, it's one of those songs that makes you feel happy and sad at the same time, so it was the perfect song for Opal to hear in that moment because it captured just how she was feeling. He says the second half is clearly unnecessary, as is the next sentence, happy and sad at the same time. Jay submitted, it was easy to tell which bands were enjoying a song the most because they were the ones putting out the most mojo while it was being played. And then Jay, 9 years old, submitted, so far they seemed to be working because those guys haven't been back to bother me since I put them up a few weeks ago.
Oh, wow. Good catch.
Jay is taking his grammar lessons to heart and finding details that Cline's presumably adult, not 9-year-old editor was not catching. I had one that we didn't touch, which was just, it's just classic dumb. Lavaca was a serious and hardworking bat and an upstanding member of the colony.
Nice.
Yeah.
All mine were burned, so
Okay.
I think we have plenty of dumb sentences.
All right. We sure do. And I'm sure this next part, as they head out, they ramble out to Austin. It's probably going to be full of them as well.
Austin, the bridge, right, is where the bats take off from. Isn't there famously a...
Yes.
And they head out, and it takes... How long? It takes, forever, right?
For them to leave the...
Yeah, for them to leave.
It's the million, I guess.
A million? Yeah, presumably. Anyway,
I don't know.
So they're going to put them in the bridge, whatever. So look forward to that, folks. Read along. How much do we have of this book? How many more episodes are we getting?
Oh, that's a good question. I'll have to look it up. It's not a long book. I don't know.
Good.
Probably 3.
Okay, sounds good.
Yeah.
All right, thanks, everyone.
Thanks, everybody. See you next time.